Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm thinking of that song, Reunited, and it feels so good. Why am I thinking of that song? Isn't it great to be back together again? It's been fantastic. It's been a great conference so far. And Mark, I want to thank you for this time. And John, you blew my mind, and you guys are scary to follow. But thank you. It was 21 years ago next week that American Heritage Girls was incorporated in the state of Ohio. I don't look a day older, I know. AHG's birthday, and I did not know what my husband was going to say, and thank you, Pat, for the introduction, was not something that the founding parents ever wanted to do. It was something we had to do. I think you guys in this room understand that. This is not what we wanted to do, but it's what you had to do. For these parents, Girl Scouts of the USA was no longer an option. And the changes had been too dramatic. The agenda had long been in the works and codified within the program. The councils had been consolidated to allow for less moving parts. The gears of moral relativism were interlocked, and the cultural icon, once embraced for generations, was now racing down a slippery slope. Does this too sound familiar to you? This journey is very, very, very similar to what I experienced in Girl Scouts. But you know, God had a plan, and he remains having plans. My background in education and children's ministry gave me an undeniable love for kids, as Pat had mentioned. AHG was one way that I could continue to minister to kids through the methods of scouting activities. The BSA for me was the model that AHG should emulate, as it seemed that their charter system is what saved them from the moral demise that was experienced by the GSUSA. After years of non-acceptance by the local Boy Scout councils, and boy did we ever try, AHG began to make inroads at the national level of the Boy Scouts of America, and in 2009 entered into a memorandum of mutual support with the Boy Scouts, the first girls' organization in its history to do so. You know, the following years were exciting. They were filled with exponential membership growth, overflowing resources in the area of Boy Scout camp usage and weeks at Philmont. You know how cool that was. BSA trainings were available to us, and even usage of their conference rooms in Irving. It was such a cool time, I just couldn't help but pinch myself. I even served on 2 national committees for the Boy Scouts of America, the Religious Relationships Committee and the Community Alliances Committee. AHG developed volunteer positions, much like you have, except this one was called the Ambassador to the Boy Scout Council. Hundreds of men and women in AHG flocked to those volunteer positions. Life seemed almost perfect. And then, after 6 months of rumors and speculation in those national committees, I, like many of you, sat in a ballroom in Texas to witness the felling of a once moral strong tower to the earthquake of political correctness. The days following this announcement were definitely filled with personal soul searching. I was prepared with my talking points. My media relations specialist helped me navigate the many interviews that occurred later. But I wasn't really ready for what God was revealing to me. And that was, I had not chosen well. The founding parents of AHG had chosen to enter the culture war, and I had chosen the BSA to be our ally. It seemed like BSA would be a great battle partner. They had lots of soldiers, tons of resource, and brand awareness. AHG literally paled in its shadow. However, my battle strategy was fatally flawed. BSA did not have the full armament of Christ. That is essential for cultural warfare. BSA and AHG were not equally yoked. Not until September of 2013, at this very place, did the Lord reveal his plan for AHG by creating our best and mightiest ally, Trail Life USA. A relationship that is perfectly yoked. A marriage literally made in heaven. In June 2015, at AHG's National Convention, AHG and Trail Life USA entered into a memorandum of ministry alliance, vowing to lift one another up for the glory of God. John 4:35 says, "Lift up your eyes and look on the fields, for they are white for the harvest." Indeed, our youth and our nation are ripe for the harvest. And there has never been a more important time for such a harvest, when the fields all around seem to be filled with burnt rubble. Our missions are vital. Those who we serve are precious. The brevity of childhood beckons us. The urgency of the gospel forces our soul to action. Many of you are aware of George Barna and his research regarding Christians in America. His 2003 volume, Transforming Children into Spiritual Champions, claims that what a youth believes at 13, age 13, is pretty much what he will spend his life believing. This study should serve as an action call to each believer seated here in this auditorium this very evening. The harvest is here. The harvest is now. Are we going to wait until the uniform is perfect? Or the program is fully developed? Or until Mark quits cracking up while he's being filmed? No, we have got to understand that perfect conditions are not what needs to happen. What needs to happen is for us to activate. We do not want any fruit left rotting on the vine, and the harvest is here. Will we, through the power of our risen Lord, not through our power, but his power, utilize the resource provided at this conference and through his people to harvest the fields with great vigor, resolve, humility, and hard work? Together, AHG and Trail Life truly make a perfect marriage. A power couple, so to speak. That power couple can inspire families across this great land to take this nation back to its knees and to teach the next generation about one nation under God. In closing, I just wanted to share a fun fact with you. I hope we have this slide. A fruit, so to speak, of the AHG Trail Life USA marriage. That is the first marriage of a trailman and an American Heritage Girl Stars and Stripes recipient. Austin and Hannah Rice live in northern Ohio in Kent-Marks region, and together they serve Trail Life USA and American Heritage Girls, a perfect union indeed. My dad, who was my inspiration my entire life, and many of you know the story, he was disabled with acute multiple sclerosis. I would tell him the tales of the Girl Scouts, and he was always incredulous. He couldn't believe it. He finally said, as he lay in his bed, bedridden, he said, "Patti, do not curse the darkness. Light a candle. Start something new." I encourage you, do not curse this darkness. Light your candles. Walk, worthy trailmen. Your sisters are counting on you. Thank you.